to today's show. Hello, I'm your host, Jeremy Speaks, and this is my podcast, Jeremy Speaks on Wrestling. Like, share, subscribe, comment, criticize. It is all welcome. I would like to thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to something I may have to say about wrestling. You can listen to full episodes in their entirety on Spreaker. You can also download them from Spreaker. You can, 2 days after my broadcast, you can listen to the episodes in their entirety on my YouTube channel, The Negro Sports League. You like, share, subscribe, comment, criticize over there as well. It is all welcome as long as you listen. Thank you for joining me. And today's subject, of course, Countdown to Tampa Bay, is episode 5, WrestleMania 5. In fact, 1989, April 2nd. It was the consecutive appearance for WrestleMania at the Trump Plaza. And I'm going to go ahead and get that out the way again, like I did the last episode, so everybody can go ahead and roll their eyes. This is before Donald Trump was president, or even thought of as being president. He hosted WrestleMania 4, as we covered yesterday, and he hosted WrestleMania 5 because of the success of 4. It happened in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The attendance was a little over 18,000. I think the exact number is 18,946, which, of course, people dispute, but they can shut up. 18,000 were in attendance. And they started this show off with the WWE Women's Champion, Rockin' Robin, performing America the Beautiful. Now, in watching this over again, like, you can't just go to, like, Wikipedia and read through everything, because Wikipedia or a fandom or other sites, it don't really do it justice. You have to go and watch this. Like, I didn't know who Rockin' Robin was. I really didn't know she was WWF Women's Champion. A lot of people know that I grew up on WCW. And, you know, back in the day, WCW wasn't big on women's wrestling. So I didn't know that Robin Rockin' was a person. Rockin' Robin was WWF Women's Champion. I also didn't know that she could sing the national anthem. And it was horrible. It was one, I don't understand how that's been buried in time. Like, why is that not up on every wrestling site with this lady singing the national anthem? It's monotone, and I'm not a singer, so I can't judge. But I do know what horrible singing sound like when I hear it. You know, I can hum a tune, but, you know, for the most part, I don't hold notes well. This lady didn't hold notes well either. I'm thinking about doing a video on Rockin' Robin singing. I ain't gonna go too hard because it'll take away from, you know, the theme of what this episode is about. But you could kill cows to the way she was singing this. You might want to even shoot yourself. It was pretty bad, and I'm not exaggerating. Anyway, after she got done butchering America the Beautiful, the first match at WrestleMania 5 was between Hercules and King Haku. King Haku coming to the ring, being carried by people on I guess that thing. I don't know what they call that thing. WWE has always had kings. Always. Like, it's something about kings in the WWE universe. Harley Race was a king, right? At WrestleMania 3. King Haku was a king. Baron Corbin's a king. Owen Hart was the king of hearts. You know, they always had this thing for kings. And I just thought I saw a lot of Baron Corbin. Like, when they was bringing him out, it looked like they was bringing out Baron Corbin. But it was King Haku, who was known to most hardcore wrestling fans as being one of the toughest guys legitimately to do wrestling. So, you know, you go in there with Haku, I don't care who you are. You're not going to be in there throwing your weight around against him. He bit a guy's nose off once. That's based, and spit it back at him. That's based on a true story. Why did he bite the guy's nose off? Because the guy told him wrestling was fake. Bad word. Anyway, that was a long time ago. Haku would attack Hercules from behind, and of course Hercules used some power moves to get the advantage before he clotheslined Haku. Very soft clothesline. You know, he hit him, but he didn't kill him. He knew he was in there with somebody who could hurt him. That clothesline sent him to the floor. Of course, with Hercules, he had to be led, but he wasn't a great athlete by any stretch of the imagination. It had to be a lot of power moves. It had to be a lot of hard-hitting strikes like elbow drops and things like that. He dominated for a short period of time like you're supposed to. But then his attention got focused on Bobby Heenan. And, of course, you know, with Bobby Heenan at ringside, He's gonna draw the heel to him, and he drew Hercules to him, and Haku would get the advantage, and nail Hercules from behind. He hit him with 2 backbreakers. See, this was back in the day when a backbreaker meant something. Now it's just a part of the moveset, right? Bret Hart could do a backbreaker like nobody else I've ever seen and make it look real. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s. Hercules would avoid a diving splash by Haku and hit him with a knee lift. Once again, it wasn't what you did, it was did it mean anything. Hercules would hit a series of clotheslines and power slam Haku for a near fall. He attempted a top rope maneuver, but when he came down, Haku caught him with a kick. Of course, that kick that the Tongans and the Samoans throw. Hercules fell in the corner, and Haku tried to open the middle rope. As Hercules rolled away, Hercules ducked the chair shot because Haku had a chair shot. He had a chair out there at ringside, and he hit Haku with a bridging back suplex to win the match. Now, watching the match, I don't know. I saw 4 shoulders on the mat. That's just me, though. I know what I saw. I saw 4 shoulders on the mat. I didn't see just 2. Anyway, your winner, Hercules. Wasn't the greatest catch-as-catch-can style match, and it's really odd for a WrestleMania opener. I'm guessing Hercules and Haku were really over at the time. Yeah, back in the day. I don't know how that really worked out to be the first match. Moving on, the second match was a tag team match between Akeem and the Big Boss Man, who were referred to as the Twin Towers, and the Rockers, consisting of Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. This went kind of how it sounds on paper. The Akeem was formerly the one-man gang. For some reason, Vince turned him into he turned this white dude into the Akeem the African Dream, and he came out with a big dashiki. It looked like a bed sheet, a big dashiki on, and he was trying to do the hip-hop moves. They even gave him Slick as a manager. I don't know what I don't know what was going on. I don't know what Vince McMahon was on at the time. But hollering at Hakeem is the African Dream, it didn't hit with me. But this match would go. It went. I mean, for 2 big guys, for the boss. I mean, everybody knows Boss Man had stamina; he could go. But me personally, seeing Hakeem get whipped from pillar to post, so to speak, they whipped him back and forth across the ring like 5 or 6 times. He was a 400-pound man. That was pretty impressive. Oddly shaped man, but that was impressive. It wasn't the best repackaging of a character I've ever seen from WWE. But then again, they did give us Max Moon. So, Akeem would hit Shawn Michaels with a lariat. I know Shawn Michaels was selling, but if you could hear the crowd, it was like a big hit in football. Ooh, and it kind of just traveled through the crowd. I know he was selling, and seeing Shawn Michaels sell like that is part of the reason why he is who he is. He can take something small and make it big. Akeem would get hit with some tandem offense from Jannetty and Michaels. And, after a while, of course, the power game took over. They hit Boss Man with a double missile drop kick, and Akeem would be tagged in. He would dump Jannetty. Michaels came off the top rope on Akeem, but the Boss Man powerbombed him. Akeem took advantage and hit Michaels with the Air Africa and pinned him to win the match. Your winner, the Twin Towers. Never will understand what Vince was smoking or snorting or whatever he was doing at the time. I don't know. Anyway, the third match was a non-title match between Brutus Beefcake and the $1 Million Champion, Ted DiBiase. And it was the first time that DiBiase's championship had appeared on pay-per-view. Beefcake would knock DiBiase onto the floor before getting back in the ring. He would beat up on DiBiase, but of course, back in the day, DiBiase had Virgil. Virgil would prove to do what he was supposed. He did what he was paid to do. DiBiase would hit a clothesline and put a chokehold on Beefcake, and follow it up with a $1 million drop. It almost resulted in a near fall. He would hit the middle rope with a diving back elbow drop for another near fall. DiBiase applied the $1 Million Dream on Beefcake. He did. Beefcake got some offense. It wasn't like it was just one-sided. It looked one-sided. DiBiase would apply the $1 Million Dream, but of course Beefcake would get the ropes. He applied a barber's chair on DiBiase, and of course Virgil, being who he is, hopped up on the apron. Beefcake let it go and went after Virgil, which once again, back in the day, it meant something when managers got involved or valets got involved in the match. The referee was busy with DiBiase after he nailed Beefcake from behind into the floor, and Virgil put the boots to Beefcake, and Beefcake no sold, of course, because back then you didn't sell for Virgil. You know, it's Virgil. Like, who takes him? You know, you just the guy that DiBiase paid to be his boy. DiBiase came from behind and nailed Beefcake. They brawled outside the ring and were counting out. This is the first no contest of WrestleMania 25. Or, excuse me, not 25, of WrestleMania 5. The fight led up the aisleway. They continued to beat each other up the aisleway. And, of course, it was a no contest. There was no winner. The fourth match was a tag match between the Bushwhackers and the Fabulous Rougeaus. Bushwhackers grabbed Rougeau's manager, Jimmy Hart. The Rougeaus were heel at this time. Because, you know, you with Jimmy Hart, you're heel. Back in the 80s anyway. And the Rougeaus beat him up. The Bushwhackers beat him up. They did. They beat up Jimmy Hart, and Luke and Raymond would start the match. Just went back and forth for a few moments. It wasn't really that long. And it shouldn't be. Most bushwhackers were there to be something to laugh at. One of the guys was a really good worker. I've gone back on the network and watched some of his matches. You can actually find them in hidden gems. The bushwhack, it was what it was. I don't. Butch and Luke, they could work before they got to WWE and got stuck in the gimmick, which is a problem a lot of guys end up having in WWE. But they would go on to defeat the Fabulous Rougeaus in about 9 minutes, and about 3 minutes of that was them horsing around. As well. I'll use that word since I'm in front of a live audience at the time, and I have to watch what I say. But your winners of that match, of course, were the Bushwhackers. Ugh, didn't like it. They come out and lick people's heads and stuff. Like, it was weird, and they weren't twins. They just happen to be two Australian white guys with no teeth that look alike. You know, like what are the chances of that? It's kind of like Oney Lorcan and what's the other guy? Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. That's kind of what the Bushwhackers remind me of. Two guys that really don't have a gimmick, but their gimmick is the fact that never understood it. Anyway, moving on. The fifth match was between Mr. Perfect and the Blue Blazer. A lot of you know the Blue Blazer is Owen Hart. This match went even shorter than the previous match. For some reason, this one felt pushed. This WrestleMania, it felt pushed. And going back and watching it, because I guess you had to fit. WWE's always had a lot of matches on at WrestleMania, but you know a lot of these matches don't get the time they get nowadays. WrestleMania runs about 6 hours nowadays. You know, 6 hours is a long time to be sitting there watching wrestling. But the fifth match was between Mr. Perfect and the Blue Blazer. Blazer hit some moves on Perfect, and you know he did his. It was of course Owen Hart. So anybody who's familiar with Owen Hart knows he was an aerial guy. He did a lot of aerial stuff in the 80s because and a lot of guys weren't doing stuff like that. It was stuff he had stolen from his time in Japan. This match went about 5 minutes. It was a couple of near falls. Perfect connected with a forearm club and a perfect plex to pin Owen Hart in this match. It was back and forth. It was good. Split-legged moonsault was in this match. Power slam, belly-to-belly suplex. See, these moves meant something back then. Now everybody just has unlimited power, and they don't sell anything, and nothing means anything anymore. I don't like that part of wrestling because I grew up a fan of work rate. This 5-minute match between the Blue Blazer and Mr. Perfect has a lot more work rate than a lot of the matches that we see nowadays. Anyway, your winner, Mr. Perfect, because nobody beat Mr. Perfect. The sixth match was a WWF Tag Team Championship handicap match between Demolition and the Powers of Pain. The Powers of Pain were the Warlord and the Barbarian, which I met the Barbarian once. Real scary. He's a scary looking guy in person. But Mr. Fuji was the manager of the Powers of Pain. They pounded on the Warlord until the Warlord back smashed into the corner and tagged Barbarian. Smash did fight back, tagged in Axe. Smash looked lopsided because the Barbarian and the Warlord were so much bigger than Axe and Smash. But, before the New Day broke their record, Demolition was the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history. That record held till the New Day broke it about 2-3 years ago. So it wasn't like they didn't know how to work together as a team. When you got Mr. Fuji at ringside, of course there's distractions. See, once again, it's a match with the manager. Bobby Heenan was at ringside already. Jimmy Hart was at ringside already. Now Mr. Fuji is at ringside now. I don't know what happened in WWE where they changed their tune about managers and the importance of them, but somewhere along the lines they did change that. Mr. Fuji would try to throw salt in Smash's eyes, but accidentally threw salt in the Warlord's eyes. Demolition would grab Fuji and hit him with the Demolition Decapitation, and Axe pinned Fuji to win the match and retain the title. So basically, the guys that lost looked strong because Fuji took the pin, and the guys that won got over. The seventh match was between Dino Bravo and Ron Garvin. Ronnie Garvin was in WWE. It wasn't long. I don't think he really. This might have been one of the last appearances of Ronnie Garvin, but you got to put Dino over. So if you're on your way out, we might as well use you to get over. This match went 3 minutes and 6 seconds. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on it because it's not much. It's basically a match that made Bravo look strong. Garvin didn't look weak either, but it put Bravo over. He was probably the star of the future. This is. The more muscles you had in the 80s, the higher your push was at the time until Vince saw that you couldn't do anything. Look at the Warlord. Everybody knows the story about the Warlord asking Shawn Michaels to pump him up because he couldn't get it in, get the juice in. So Shawn Michaels tried to take the syringe and pump him up, and nothing would come out or nothing would go in. And Shawn Michaels was like, "I think you're full, brother." I think everybody knows that stuff. Knows that story. Garvin would do the Garvin Stomp, which is something Randy Orton has taken upon himself to do now. It's the Garvin Stomp. It started, and he gave it to Frenchie Martin, who came out the ring with Dino Bravo. He gave that to him. All right, the eighth match was a tag team match between the Brainbusters, which consisted of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, with his great Tully Blanchard, right? Tully was a hole back in the day, but that's back in the day where you could be one. With the way social media is now, Tessa Blanchard definitely has Tully's personality. You can kind of see it in her. She kind of got his jawline too, but she got his personality and the way she treat people, according to online reports. So that don't surprise me. Tully was a SOB. He was first cool bad guy, and back then you lived your gimmick. So if you were an a-hole, you were really an a-hole. But the Brainbusters would take on Strike Force. Brainbusters being Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard took on Tito Santana and Rick Martel. This match, in any Brainbusters match, is good. Of course, Bobby Heenan was in the corner of the Brainbusters. This match went about 9-10 minutes. Of course, when you work with the Brainbusters, you were going to work. But they had two people who could work. They had Martel and Santana. Strike Force would hit the Brainbusters with drop kicks, sending them to the floor. Anderson would fight his way back in the ring. He received a rolling spine buster, which actually looked pretty nice. It was really, really good. Anderson went for a body scissors on Martel, but Martel turned it into a Boston Crab. Picture that in your mind. You go for a body scissors with your legs, and it's turned into a Boston Crab. Of course, Blanchard interfered and raked the eyes of Martel. Then Blanchard tagged in while Santana grabbed Martel for a blind tag. Of course, the ref didn't see it, but whatever. He hit Blanchard with a bulldog and then slapped a figure four on. Martel also applied the figure four leg lock on Anderson simultaneously. Of course, tag team offense, back when tag team wrestling mattered. Later on in the match, Anderson and Blanchard would hit Santana with a spike pile driver. Also, the manager walked away from the match. or excuse me, not the manager, Martel. I read that wrong. Martel refused and walked away at this match, and he turned heel. He left Santana out there by himself. Poor Santana, right? Like in the all 5 WrestleMania, Santana is always getting effed over. Poor guy. Anderson and Blanchard hit Santana with a spike pile driver. Anderson got the pin on Santana, which got the victory, and Strikeforce broke up. Next, after this, was the Piper Pit segment with Morton Downey Jr. And, of course, Brother Love came out there. They talked. They killed a lot of time. I can tell you that. That segment definitely killed a lot of time. Morton Downey Jr. was over at the time. He was a talk show host, and he lit a cigarette, kept blowing smoke in Piper's face. And, of course, this was one time the celebrity really didn't get over. He made a line. He was like... Morton Downey Jr. used to have all these warts all over his face, right? And Roddy Piper asked him, what happened to all those warts you had all over your face? And Morton Downey Jr. was like, I gave them to a homeless warthog. Roddy Piper was like, I didn't know your girlfriend was homeless. So, that's kind of how it went. You had Piper's Pit against the reigning talk show guy at the time. Celebrity is always big at WrestleMania, but it ended with Brother Love was out there, but it ended with him being thrown out or running up the aisle after being stripped. And Downey Jr. with a fire extinguisher to help him prevent fires, blowing smoke in Piper's face. The 9th match was Jake Roberts and Andre the Giant with Big John Studd as the special guest referee. Now, they started their feud at this time. Andre did the thing where he was afraid of snakes. Jake Roberts would go on to defeat Andre the Giant, who once again is accompanied by Bobby Heenan. The Heenan family was getting big at this time. Once again, he's out there at ringside. This match went about 10 minutes, with Jake Roberts defeating Andre by disqualification, of course, because that's how you beat Andre. Typical Andre match, a lot of plodding around. Andre headbutted John Studd, which was that's why John Studd was used in this match, to keep Andre. He was just used in the match to keep Andre where he was. You couldn't have Andre getting pinned by Jake, and you didn't want Jake to look weak either. So, Studd served his purpose. The 10th match was a tag team match between the Hart Foundation and Rhythm and Blues, which was Greg Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man. This match was all over the place. About 7 minutes and 40 seconds. These matches don't run long at all at WrestleMania 5. I don't know why. They just didn't. It's of course, typical Hart Foundation offense. Neidhart gets in and hits all the Neidhart spots and pulling on the beard and laughing, and Bret does his thing. The backbreaker on the Honky Tonk Man. Honky had the match won at one point. He hit Bret Hart with the shake, rattle, and roll, but he tagged in Valentine instead of pinning Bret Hart. That made no sense to me. Valentine would put on a figure 4 leg lock. Hart would crawl out of it, but received a gut buster by Honky Tonk. Bret Hart managed to hit a flying crossbody on Honky Tonk. Valentine tagged in and blocked a roll-up by Hart. Hart rolled out and tagged in Neidhart, and of course, Neidhart came in and started cleaning house. Honky did make the save when Neidhart would pin Valentine. A lariat on Valentine got another near fall for Neidhart. Hart and Honky were then tagged in. Valentine ran in and nailed Neidhart on the apron, and the referee got distracted by Valentine. Neidhart would take advantage and handed Bret Hart Jimmy Hart's megaphone. Hart knocked Honky out with it and pinned him to win the matchup. Your winners, the Hart Foundation. The next match, Rick Rude, of course, with Bobby Heenan. Here we go again against the Ultimate Warrior. I'm not even going to waste a whole lot of time talking about this match. Rick Rude did what he could, but the Warrior was the Warrior. How do you have somebody like Rick Rude in the ring with you and you screw it up? I'll never understand, but he managed to do it. So I don't know how he did it, but Rude did what he could. And Warrior was champion at the time. Rude delivered a backbreaker, but the backbreaker was very clumsy. it's Warrior. Anything. And the Warrior just, cocaine and big hair. That's what he was. But Rude got the best he got out of him. Rude was very patient. And people know Rick Rude was, he Macho Man used to hire Rick Rude when they went out of town to be his bodyguard. He would pay him to, so that goes to show you just how when the boys are paying you to protect them, that tells you everything you need to know about a guy, especially in the 80s. Warrior would then suffer a pinfall loss, but it's because the Warrior would pick up Rude and Heenan would grab his foot and hold his foot down so Warrior couldn't kick out. I know Bobby Heenan looked terrified because he didn't know whether Warrior was going to drop him or hurt him, but he looked terrified, but Warrior got his hands on him at the end of the match. He did. But this was Warrior's first pinfall loss, and hey, it's Rick Rude, man. It's not like you losing to Joe Blow up the street. Rude got what he could out of him. That's all I'm going to say about that. Your winner, Rick Rude. The next match, singles match. Of course, Bad News Brown versus Jim Duggan. I'm going to fast forward and go ahead and tell you. A lot of shoulder tackles, pointing, facials. Your winner, it ended in a double disqualification. That's pretty much what the match was. Brown did his thing, and because Duggan was a heel, and he did his thing, and your winner, your winner is not the fans, and it's definitely nobody in this match. The next match was the debut of the Red Rooster. I want to say it was the debut of Terry Taylor in WWE. No, it wasn't a debut. I stand corrected. It was a match with Red Rooster and Bobby Heenan and the Brooklyn Brawler got into it. And once I say Brooklyn Brawler, that tells you everything you need to know about it. The Red Rooster won. That match went 31 seconds. And the quicker it was done, the better. The main event. The name of the show was The Mega Powers Unite, or Explode, excuse me. It had been a year in the making. It had been a full year in the making. A full year where Savage had won the tournament at WrestleMania 4, and then they would unite. And, of course, Savage being who he was very protective of Elizabeth. They did an angle on Saturday night's main event where Savage flew through the ropes and hit Elizabeth, and Hogan would carry her off to the locker room. He looked like he nailed her. I mean, he hit her pretty hard with the side of his hip. Hip met face, but Elizabeth looked like a lady who probably was familiar with taking a punch or two. Now, I'm not going to say that, but let's just say she looked like she could take one on the chin. Savage they played off of Savage's jealousy and thought that, they put it in front of people. WWE has a tendency to put in front of people things that appear to be real to everybody. Like if it appears, oh man, we're supposed to be friends, we're the Mega Powers, we're out here taking on everybody. Who could beat the Mega Powers? I think the whole thought process behind that was, who can actually beat the Mega Powers? And the answer is the Mega Powers, and that's what happened. Savage was slap Hogan after he carried Miss Elizabeth to the back, or left him out there in the ring. It exploded, and a lot of it was rooted in real life. Macho was known for being paranoid. He didn't want Hogan touching him, but if somebody was chasing him outside the ring, he'd throw Elizabeth in front of him real quick, right? True heel. Savage in this match would go on to face Hogan after having the title for a whole year. That doesn't happen anymore. I think Cena was the last guy that they attempted to hold titles from WrestleMania to WrestleMania 22 and 23. This match was Savage work rate versus Hogan. You all knew at the Trump Plaza who was going to win this. Red, white, and blue Hulk Hogan. And there's no surprise. He did go on to beat the Macho Man after 2 elbow drops. He kicked out. I didn't like it. Hogan was being Hogan. He did business. Macho Man did business, but Hogan was Hogan, right? Your winner and champion, Hulk Hogan. Match was good for what it was. It's not on my all-time favorites list, but it was good for what it was. It was good for 1989. Hulkamania was still in its apex. or still in its rise to the top. It hadn't bottomed out yet. And that is WrestleMania 5. Like, share, subscribe, comment, criticize. It is all welcome. I'd like to thank you for taking time to listen to Jeremy Speaks on Wrestling. You can catch me here tomorrow, either on Spreaker or YouTube. Give it 2 days after this episode hits Spreaker. It will be available on YouTube at my channel, The Negro Sports League. Thank you for joining me on this countdown to Tampa Bay. There will be an episode, and pretty soon there'll be more than one episode. I got to catch up. I'm a little bit behind, but I will continue to drop episodes daily and update you in the future with any other progress I'm making on it. But until then, this has been Jeremy Speaks and my podcast, Jeremy Speaks on Wrestling. Thank you. I hope you all have a good day. Peace.